So I think for right now, because that step over armbar is not one of my strongest, I alluded to it in the last video, submissions to get to. I don't necessarily want to really show it on the dummy. I'll do one really quick one. But if I'm in this switch-based position and I am able to get the arms separated, or he tries to maybe sit up on me and I'm able to post and I'm able to get this separated, I'm going to pinch in here and tuck in. Now, this is kind of like how far in you are is really going to determine whether or not this armbar is effective for you, right? So I want to be able to, and a lot of times, especially in this position, you might shift your weight here, right? And he might be like, oh yay, I can roll him here. So he's going to start to roll, and that allows me to step over his head. And then from here, I just kind of drive my hips up and out. My hand is at his elbow. So my foot here and whatnot, this is controlling the bottom of the lever, his shoulder, right? The center of the lever where I'm trying to break is my hand right on his elbow, my hip behind that hand. The top of the lever is me pinching onto his hand so that his palm is preferably facing in on my armpit. Now, if he's flipped some other way, I might have to adjust the way that I finish it. So I need to chase that elbow, whichever way the elbow is pointing. I want to hyperextend this way out. So there's my natural bend. I want to go against that. So I'm here, and then I drive up while keeping his hand trapped there, and I'm driving into that elbow with both my hand and my hip. All right, and again, this was one that I think is going to be much easier to show and much easier to do well if I have an actual human here to do it with. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to transition now to another thing that I kind of alluded to a moment ago, and that's talking again about this whole thing really is about separating this arm, right, or that arm, whatever, an arm that I want to attack. So if I'm here, I make that I grab onto his hip, I drop my elbow down, so I'm going to be transitioning into that knee ride. When I come up, I might just slide up. I don't really need to hop, right? If I create a lot of space here, a good grappler is going to be gone, right? So I control the hip here, and I bring my knee up without letting my knee lose contact. My knee will usually end up into his solar plexus here, right into the above the belly button, right at the base of the sternum, right? And so he's got his arms right here in the prayer position on his chest. I'm going to control both his shoulders. It's going to prevent him from being able to roll particularly easily. Bring both knees together, and I'm going to drop down. And just like when I'm passing the guard here and I'm controlling that leg, here I've got his arm stapled here, right? I'm not trying to put my knee onto his bicep. If I try to do that, he's going to escape that arm really aggressively, and I'm going to lose it, right? It's going to be a lot easier for him to start to move away from me and have me actually lose that. But if I staple it, I can actually follow him a lot easier. So from here, I'm going to go back for that underhook of the head, right? I've got my underhook on this side, and then I'm going to slide this leg back, right? And this is going to create an opening for me to bring my other foot over his bicep and create that lock there. Right, so give you a little bit of a better view here. I swam that down, right, and I've got this nice side control position. I start to slide this leg back, and I flick the other foot in, right? So it went in, and now that is hooking the bicep and not this leg. And the reason why I'm going to do this is I want to be able to start going for this bicep slice. Now, here's my note on bicep slices, all right? They're not legal. They're not legal in tournaments up to brown belt, and there's a very good reason for this. And so if we think about what a bicep slice actually does to the arm, right? So if we look here, that's as far as my arm can close, right? If I put something in there, that's as far as my arm can close. And so if I start to keep trying to force that down, not only is it going to drive the shin into the bicep itself, my shin of my leg into his bicep, what's going to happen is either the radius and the ulna are going to split because those are going to be the weakest bones involved, or this joint is going to separate, right? So we're going to tear apart that ligamentous tissue. So I've wiped that down. I windshield wipe in, and so for this, sometimes people will just pick their arm up and it'll just end up here. If it doesn't, you know, I've got a free hand here, right? I can just control with this hand, you know, create some space, bring it in, and close up. Or I've got a free leg here, right? So I can actually start to direct it, it's much easier with a human, to bring it back into this position. And then I'm gonna go ahead and square up my hips onto him, right? And so from here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna widen out my base, and I'm gonna push my knees back, right? And so what I'm doing is that by being in this position here and sliding back, I'm driving my hips into his forearm and basically crushing down onto that bicep. And the reason why I feel okay with showing you this particular one, for one, I want you to do it to yourself before you have somebody do it to you in a non-rolling context to know what it feels like, okay, and how quickly it hurts. Most people are going to tap from that pain well before they hit injury, right? So you need to go really, really slow and give them the ability to tap, because like I said, you can seriously fuck somebody up with this particular submission, and it's not legal at white, blue, or purple belt. It's legal in brown and black according to IBJJF rules. So, if I am here, I'm trying to bring this down, and I'm going to do it very, very slowly. It's not going to take much. Feel it for yourself before you do it to somebody else. If you don't, do it with a partner, a non-resisting partner, right? And do it in a very controlled, nobody's trying to escape environment, and learn how to control it and learn how much it takes to get that tap, because I promise you, it is not going to be much. So, I'm up here. Boom. I slide and I get that trap there. I establish my side control. From here, right, I start to slide my leg back, and I just want to get, maybe not all the way up to the wrist, because I don't want them to be able to pull that right back out. And I flick my other leg in, and for me, I honestly want it on this portion of the arm. If it's out here, the elbow can articulate and they can potentially start to get out of it. So I want to keep it on that bicep, not onto that forearm. So I'm going to let go of this. I'm going to create a little path here. If he doesn't bring it in on his own, I'm just going to reach down for now, and I'm just going to pull it in, right? There are ways to use your leg to bring that in if you need to. Sometimes he'll do it on his own, or you can use your hand. You've got pretty good control here, right? This is a great control position. He can't roll you this way anymore because this shoulder is now anchored to the ground. It's rooted with you into the ground. So he won't be able to pick this shoulder up. His only option here is to start to turn into you and start to shrimp away to be able to start freeing up that arm. So, once you got this bent here, he's not going anywhere. So, from this position, I'm going to think about pushing my knees away from me and dropping my hips as much as possible. Notice that my knees are really, really wide here, right? So I'm dropping in, boom, and that arm will break. All right. There's your debatably reckless move that I've given you today, which is the knee ride to bicep slice. We'll do more on this position in a second.